footwear, apparel, and now nutrition. Does the Tom Brady infused Noble have what it takes to build a complete wellness company? To be fully honest, it's been maybe like 4 or 5 years since I've kind of thought deeply about the TB12 brand. While the ideological foundation of the brand was and still is compelling, I became disinterested relatively quickly as the level of execution required to bring that brand distinctiveness to life just wasn't initially apparent. But my TB12 interest was reinvigorated this week, along with a bolstered belief that it could potentially have an intriguing future. After I read trending news headlines that I'm sure isn't quite news any longer, but just to kind of recap, Tom Brady has struck a deal to merge his wellness company, TB12, and his apparel line, Brady Brand, with the sportswear brand Noble. The combined company will retain the Noble name, and Tom Brady becomes its second largest shareholder after Mike Rapoli, who bought a majority stake in the company in July of 2023 through his investment firm Impact Capital. Now, in my world, neither of these guys need any introduction, but I have a feeling we can kind of skip over the Tom Brady background stuff and jump straight into resharing one of my recent hot takes that I made about the man who turned vitamin water and body armor into household beverage names. If we are making a list of the biggest balls in business, the name Mike Rapoli must be one of the names on it. Why? Well, what kind of madman goes after not one, but two of today's strongest global brands? In 2011, Mike Rapoli co founded Body Armor to directly compete against the sports drink juggernaut Gatorade. A decade later, Body Armor sells more than $1.5 billion in drinks and was sold to the Coca Cola Company for many more billions. So, or I guess who's next? Mike Rapoli's private equity firm will buy a majority stake in a footwear, apparel, and accessories brand called Noble. As you might have guessed it, Noble directly competes with Nike, focused on broadening the brand's reach. Partnerships with CrossFit, the PGA Tour, and the NFL Combine are likely only the proverbial starting line for Noble that could look to IPO soon. A few of those clip details will be expanded on further within this content because they might help give additional context around like kind of the deal motivations, but also validate its potentially much more intriguing future. But first, how many of you remember a YouTube video I created about TB12 the week before the 2019 NFL Super Bowl and a follow-up article a yearish later after Tom Brady's company acquired another small supplement brand called Vital Fit Nutrition? I'm going to guess not many of you, but to quickly recap those previous kind of wishy washy thoughts on TB12, and I guess I'll kind of start with the positive side first, but it basically revolved around the belief that the TB12 method was a foundational platform to build from that had a compelling ideological uniqueness. As I noted earlier, I'm not sure the previous leadership team brought that to life, but I still very much think that one, people will continue to be enamored by Tom Brady's impressive longevity and consistent high performance as an NFL quarterback, and two, thus the unique holistic wellness methodology that is credited for it will have leverageable commercial value. On the flip side, most of the negatives revolved around it only being like this side hustle for Tom Brady until he chose to retire from the NFL. His inability to yell, let's go, and kind of dive headfirst into the TB12 business or really any business venture with intention left me, well, maybe this ending clip from that February 2019 video will help. What I'll say is that I have a uh, not the best feeling about TB12. I don't know why. I just have this like weird feeling. I have no animosity towards Tom Brady, though I'm not a Patriots fan. I don't hate on Tom Brady. I actually appreciate him as a person and just appreciate the some of his ideals and just the way he approaches life. But I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't know how to really say that, but so, those hybrid athletes, celebrities that own a CPG brand are still a relatively new phenomenon. It's kind of very similar to the trending movement that involves non sports celebrities and creators jumping into the CPG industry. But regardless, it's the rare talent that can also hold consumer attention, which ultimately turns them into the most sought after assets in the world and potentially the biggest CPG brands of tomorrow. That being said, it's important to remember that there's more to this consumer packaged goods game than just having an uber popular co founder that can pull forward awareness. These celebrity athlete brands must still be great at all of like the blocking and tackling X's and O's CPG industry stuff, which is why picking the right partnerships is so important when considering the long-term viability of these brands. So, if we think back again to that original content from 5 or so years ago, it also contained a few layers of, let's kind of just say, stuff that could explain why I was left sort of speechless and questioning if TB12 was going to work out long term. And maybe we can even go a step further and say that those opinions line up with the rumors that were circulating late last year about Tom Brady's TB12 brand and whether he was still in business with his longtime business partner and trainer, Alex Guerrero. In the Noble and Tom Brady deal announcement, there was no mention of Alex Guerrero outside of the sources acknowledging that the TB12 method was built around his holistic wellness techniques. I think he's mastered over decades at that point. If you do some additional digging, you'll also realize that the half dozen or so TB12 training and recovery facilities are now all closed. Yet Alex Guerrero is still in that line of business today, but under a different name. He started a new company that is said to be focused on advancing the TB12 method and expanding its reach through strategic partnerships and a comprehensive continuing education platform. And I love the name of this new company, TBRX, but don't get too confused because the TB stands for total body and not Tom Brady. But let's cut kind of back to focusing on the TB12 business because word on the street was that its consumer goods segment was generating less than 8 figures in revenue and it was losing tons of money on the bottom line. So, what would an astute businessman like Mike Rapoli want with a proverbial sinking ship? Firstly, and maybe most obviously, Mike Rapoli is acqui-hiring Tom Brady. This isn't Mike Rapoli's first rodeo with this sports marketing strategy, as he's iterated Gatorade's playbook in the 2010s after noticing consumers spending much more time on social media platforms and becoming more involved with celebrity parasocial relationships. So that's at least partly why Body Armor decided to have athlete investors over the typical athlete spokespeople, thus allowing them to leverage their growing authentic microphones and public interest in an athlete's life away from sports. But beyond the obvious interest in having one of the greatest winners of all time, Tom Brady, on his team, Mike Rapoli had the same kind of diamond in the rough feeling that I got many years ago around the TB12 brand. And no, I'm not talking about the supplement product line because those, great or not, it doesn't really matter what you think, are really only the entry fee to compete in the market. I'm sure you guys at this point know my point of view, but winners and losers in the broader consumer goods space, let alone CPG, are largely determined by what you build off of those great products. This is why the smartest companies are focused less on product based differentiation, and they know that competing on that alone will only provide a transient advantage. With today's fast follower, low barriers to entry business landscape, your best product features are too easy to copy and an insufficient defensible moat. The solution is having a bold strategic narrative because that enables brands to create a unique story that will guide their entire internal and external business activity. Mike Rapoli knows this. He is a lover of bold strategic narratives. You can tell this by a collection of his quotes sprinkled into both the Noble deal announcement last July and the Tom Brady one just the other day. Listen to a few of these. Rapoli stated, I think that this brand can really be a life changing brand for so many people. The Noble mentality is about being a better version of yourself and just cutting out the noise and clutter. Moreover, he said that the ability to help people and build grit and resilience is the Noble mentality that will lead to this noble lifestyle. Now, consider the internal side of the strategic narrative where Mike Rapoli commented about adding Tom Brady into the mix and their shared belief that winning with others is important. Having success with others, making ourselves better versions of ourselves, pushing our teammates, challenging our teammates to be better is very important to us. But back to that diamond in the rough aspect of the TB12 brand, with Tom Brady much more intentionally focused and engaged on business, the holistic wellness methodology of TB12 turns bolder and has more defensible distinctiveness. But then you also align it with the larger, noble strategic narrative. Plus, you can't forget the added benefit of the CPG industry savviness from Mike Rapoli. And there's a real possibility something extremely special could happen within this pursuit towards becoming a $1 billion complete wellness company. From Nike to Lululemon to Aloe, which is a brand I'll discuss further on my channel very soon, these activewear brands aren't just selling apparel, they're selling a lifestyle. Reorienting around wellness and adding Tom Brady's star power gives Noble a lot of strategic optionality throughout this ambitious build process, which is great and most likely directs them towards an IPO in the relatively near future. But I kind of just want to end with some quick final thoughts. I think it was that high probability of a future Noble IPO that was a key motivating element to this deal because Tom Brady also has some very big ambitions of his own. After acquiring a stake in the WNBA's Las Vegas Aces last year, Tom Brady wants more pieces of Sin City's future as arguably the hub of major sports. That likely means seeking a substantial ownership stake, maybe along with LeBron James after he retires, in the projected future expansion of the NBA into the Las Vegas market. But I hope you guys enjoyed this YouTube video. If you did, consider hitting the like button to support me. Also, help me get to my new short term goal of 4,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. I'd love to see you join me on this journey, but we need to fix the fact that I think more than 90% of you at this point that are watching this YouTube video are not subscribed, and that makes me extremely sad. But I do want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.